No alt season this time. It's time to dump the garbage while you still can. It seems there will be no alt season this year, only a Bitcoin season. Bitcoin has doubled in price with no alt season. Maybe altcoin season is a myth. You're probably feeling like that right now, aren't you? But guess what? These comments aren't recent. They all come from the start of 2021. And I marked on these charts exactly when people were making those kind of comments on Twitter so that you could understand what happens after we see comments like that. Because while the charts are moving around and we have all sorts of different news floating around, there is no indicator that's more accurate than the market sentiment. And with the market sentiment at pretty much rock bottom right now, things are about to get very exciting indeed, and it only really takes one candle for that to happen. Now, in the last bull market, it was Ethereum that led the charge for the altcoin season. So, with Donald Trump now buying $5 million of Ethereum every single day, and the Ethereum Bitcoin chart looking more and more appetizing every day, I think things are starting to align perfectly for the next major phase of this bull market. So, without further ado, hit the like button. Let's go get some hope. So, all of those comments are dated from around the start of January 2021. After that date, from literally January the 2nd, Ethereum goes up 560% before May. Solana then follows a couple of days later, going up 42x into May, only to then have a pullback and then continue up another 2x from there. Mana Decentraland around the same date goes up 21x, only to then continue up another 2 or 3x following that. Now guys, I just posted this over on my Twitter. And despite the fact that people are reading these comments and they know they come from 2021, people are still down below this particular tweet saying almost identical things to what's being said there. Now I appreciate this is the sentiment from January 2021 and right now it's February 2025. So we're a month later than perhaps we thought we would be. Why is that? Well, I think because of this. Back in November, December, we saw Donald Trump and his new administration being elected in to become the new US president. And this obviously had a very bullish result for crypto, sending the markets far higher and far faster than maybe many anticipated happening. This meant that the market got a bit overheated and had to have a bit of a cool off over the Christmas period and into January, which is what we've just seen happen. But the good news, we've seen a major cool down in the market sentiment with lots of people feeling incredibly bearish. And what better time for us to then see an enormous rally towards the upside. And I know, you've been hearing me say this for a while and you've been hearing many others say this for a while. But guys, we are going to see one hell of a bull market. And the harder you're doubting that right now, the sooner it's going to arrive. So why is Ethereum the key to all of it? Well, it's the second biggest market cap coin of all, but it's been massively underperforming. Everyone's been hating on it all across Twitter, all across YouTube. Solana's much faster. All the transactions are flooding over to Solana. Well, I'm going to prove to you in a minute that that's actually not true. And also, it's pretty hard to ignore that World Liberty Finance, a fund owned by Donald Trump, is now adding Ethereum to its holdings every single day. It's currently holding more than $200 million of ETH, and you can see these transactions being added over on Arkham, adding $5 million here, another $5 million on the exact same day, adding another just under $10 million 2 days before that. This is the President of the United States who's starting to position himself for a bull run, while many of you out there who may be in your first bull market are wondering, is it ever going to happen? So let's start dissecting this and understanding a little bit more for ourselves. Now this is DeFiLlama.com, and you've probably seen this before, showing a lot of excitement going on in Solana. There's a reason that we've seen Solana seeing such a significant move in this bull market compared to maybe some others. The total value locked has just been surging towards the upside. We've seen the volume on chain having some really good runs, and at certain times around the height of the meme coin bull market, we've also seen a lot of growth there. And also you can see with the transactions now moving up to around 63 million transactions per day, things are looking pretty good. But this is Ethereum, and while the transactions are much lower than they are over on Solana, because of the fact that they're so much more expensive to make these transactions, Ethereum as a network benefits from the fact that we are building from strength to strength when it comes to the transactions. You can also see that the volume on Ethereum is starting to pick up pretty aggressively, and that the TVL is also growing significantly. So jumping across to the charts and looking at Bitcoin, many people are saying, well, we don't have the news left that's bullish enough to drive us up higher. Guys, I want to tell you something about the news. The news is obviously out there to have an effect. And you are right. A lot of the news that we've had recently, which has been very bullish news, like the banks being able to have custody of crypto, like Donald Trump starting to buy massive amounts of crypto, like Michael Saylor and everyone else buying crypto all the time. Why is it not having any impact? Well, all of this is because it's simply controlled by the market makers. The market makers are the ones who are moving the markets up and down. The news is just there to distract you. And if you're thinking right now that we don't have the news that is able to come in and push us higher, then simply all you need to know is it doesn't matter. Because actually, who's going to go and drive the price higher is all going to come from the market makers as well as the big institutional money who are buying up crypto. So whenever they decide that we're ready to go, we're going to go. So Bitcoin is now trying to drive us into yet another trap. We can see it's had this little stall and having a little bit of a pullback, but it's simply just pulled back between the 50% range of this low here back on the 12th of January, and this high here that came just a few days after that. 50% line is very typical for where we might see a bounce, and if we see a bounce from here, then we're going to see the next rally up sooner than if we come down lower. But either way, the outcome is the same. We might have to sit in the red for a little bit longer, and this maybe plays out like this, but eventually we're going to move higher. That is simply all you need to know about this. But why do I think this move coming is sooner rather than you might think? Well, I feel what happened to Ethereum just a couple of days ago is indicative of the fact that they're trying to make you feel even more hopeless. This was a push towards the upside for Ethereum that got sold off very aggressively, and I think that that was to scare off the last of the Ethereum investors to try and get as many of you out of this market as possible before they're ready to start sending the prices higher. Not only that, Ethereum is in simply a very bullish pattern right now. Can it come down lower? Well, absolutely. It came down to these lows around $2,900 not too long ago, but right now you can see it is kind of starting to find support at these key areas through here. Okay, so there is a chance that Ethereum just starts to rally from here, and when it does, it's going to go and break out of this larger pattern, this pattern that it's been in since the top of the last bull market back in November of 2021. And just look, the sentiment that I showed you in those tweets earlier was from the 2nd of January, which is around here, and that was around 58% lower than the previous bull market top. So, in fact, while many people are thinking that Ethereum is underperforming, Ethereum currently is down 35% from the previous bull market top, not 58%. And most of those comments were from the 1st or 2nd of January, and look, in 2 days, Ethereum saw a push of 40%. It then went up nearly 89% within 10 days of that particular period of time. And this is what it looked like on the Ethereum Bitcoin chart. This is around the 2nd of January where we saw that pump towards the upside. You can see Ethereum versus Bitcoin suddenly rallies up 55% in just 2 to 3 days. And you can see around that time, the relative strength index was sitting down here at a level of around 26. From there, it triggers altcoin season. And right now, we can see Ethereum versus Bitcoin is literally sitting and retesting this zone here absolutely perfectly. Now, back in the last bull market, we saw a bit of a pullback in Bitcoin and some of the altcoins around March. Following that, we then ran into the next stage of the bull cycle, which then took off from this place around the 28th of March, which we can see is pretty much from this low here, where Ethereum then rallies and does another 177%. During this period of time, Bitcoin was literally going sideways, not really doing a huge amount, and all the money was flooding from Bitcoin into Ethereum. And I've drawn this green box right now because it indicates the level of support that Ethereum against Bitcoin showed here. This was a major run where Ethereum pushed very aggressively against Bitcoin. And right now, we are sat in this box. And on Friday, when we saw that strong bounce from Ethereum, that indicated that we are closer to that move than maybe you think. As you can see, the relative strength index has bounced off strongly from this oversold level and is now looking to head higher. So yes, over the next few days, who knows what news is going to come out. Maybe something comes out tomorrow that dumps the market or pumps the market. We have no control over that. But all we can fundamentally understand is when the sentiment is bad, there is a value to be had in a crypto market. You buy when the sentiment is bad and you sell when the sentiment is incredibly good. Unfortunately, if you're new, you were probably buying when the sentiment was really good back in December, only to see the market pull back on you. Luckily, you've now had that lesson and now you understand how these markets work. At the same time, right now, many people are finding value and starting to trust the people who are saying that this bull market's finished, that we're not going to have an altcoin season. These very people right here. These people who say that maybe altcoin season is a myth because they're quite clearly in their first bull cycle in the last bull market. Rather than listening to people who've been in bull markets before, and rather than thinking about the fact that the most influential man in the world right now is buying $5 to $10 million of Ethereum every single day. Now, I'm not telling you to necessarily go out and buy Ethereum right now. I'm simply telling you that the altcoins that you're holding that have seen some significant bleeding towards the downside really can recover incredibly fast. Just as an example, this is Mana Decentraland in the last bull market. It pulled back around 73% at one point. It then sort of sat around 40 to 50% down. Solana, around this same time, was down around 76% from the previous high that it put in around sort of August, September time of the previous year. And imagine the person who panic sold Solana around these levels at $1.16, only to then see Solana end the bull market at $256. Now, guys, if you want to keep up to date with what's being posted over on Twitter, make sure you go across and follow the House of Crypto 3. Also, if you haven't subscribed right now and you want to cut out the noise and understand what's really going on in these crypto markets, as well as which altcoins to be buying and when, I'm going to talk about the most undervalued altcoins that I'm personally been investing in over this week. Then make sure you are subscribed, notification bell turned on. Also, if you suddenly now gained the confidence to buy into this dip rather than panic selling this dip, then I highly recommend that you do it on one of two exchanges. This here is Bitunix, which does not require KYC, which means that you can sign up for this exchange without having to register all of your details, which is pretty useful. It also has some of the lowest fees across crypto, and it's an exchange that I use personally every single day. I'm also using WEEX, which again does not require KYC, has over 650 different altcoins. So if you're trying to find smaller cap altcoins that are going to see the best upside in this bull market, then you need to use an exchange like these rather than using Coinbase or Binance, which only tend to list larger market cap coins. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. In my opinion, I think Ethereum is going to head towards $12,000 to $15,000 during this bull market. I personally have been buying into Ethereum because I'm pretty confident it's going to see some nice rallies in the coming weeks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again tomorrow in yet another video. Bye-bye.